Buying a wildlife camera for recording hedgehogs is not the same as just buying a DSLR or thinking about the camera that is on your mobile phone. It is quite a different piece of machinery, and so in this video I want to talk you through some of the things that I would look for in terms of functionality of that camera if you're in the market for a camera to record hedgehogs in your garden. Hello, welcome to Hedgehog's Hollow, the land at the bottom of my garden. Hedgehog's Hollow is the channel for people who are passionate about hedgehogs, who want to attract them into their gardens and then care for them once they're there. And if that is you, then why not join the more than 250 subscribers we already have to this channel? If you've not yet subscribed, then do consider subscribing and hit the notification bell so that you get a notification every time a new video is uploaded to the channel. One of the consequences of being in lockdown throughout the course of this year appears to have been an increase in public awareness of hedgehogs generally, and there seems to have been a swell of people going out and buying houses and placing them in their gardens and just enjoying hedgehogs. One of the knock-ons of that is the fact that a lot more people may now find themselves in the market looking for a camera to record hedgehog activity through the night in their own garden. Now, I appreciate that in the middle of November or the end of November, it's not the time to start recording hedgehog activity. But I also know that a lot of retailers may be taking the opportunity through Black Friday activities, Cyber Monday activities, or run-ups to Christmas to really try to shift some stock. And so you may well find that there are some bargains to be had. As I started off by saying though, getting the right wildlife camera is not the same as finding the right DSLR camera or talking about the camera attached to your mobile phone. And there are literally hundreds of different models available. So by no means can I possibly recommend one or another or suggest that you should pursue any particular camera. What I can do is explain to you the things that I would look for in a camera that I knew was going to record hedgehog activities. So in this video, I want to give you a rundown of the features and functionality of a camera that I would recommend, and then it's up to you and open to you to find a camera that suits both your budget and your needs. So the first thing that any camera needs to have is something called an IP rating. The IP rating stands for the ingression protection, and that simply means protection against stuff getting into the inside of the camera. And in general, that stuff is one of two things: dust or water or any liquid. So the IP rating will have the two letters I and P and then two digits. And normally every camera should have an IP56. It's not a 56, and I'll explain that to you now why, but an IP56 rating is what you're looking at. The 5 and the 6 basically relate to the level of protection against material and liquids. The first digit applies to the protection against material or stuff or dust in particular, and the second applies to the level of protection against liquids. Why do we need to protect the camera against dust? Well, it's going to be standing out overnight in the wind, and it needs to be protected from any dust or sand or soil that might be blown against it. And of course, any camera going out overnight, even in the British summer, is guaranteed to be rained on. And so you want a level of protection that basically means that it is water resistant. It is not going to be waterproof. It's not going to be a camera that can be submersed into water, but rather it should be water resistant. And the next choice you have to make is the use of your cameras. Cameras broadly fall into two categories: those that can connect to your Wi-Fi and those that record onto some kind of internal memory, a memory card. Wi-Fi will tend to want to be power mains connected, whereas the ones that record to memory cards will readily accept battery operation. Assuming you go down the route of the memory card type of camera, there's another thing just to watch out for that can be become really confusing. Memory cards all used to be of a particular size, and that was the SD card, which is probably about an inch tall, and these are quite traditional. You'll find them in a lot of cameras, DSLR cameras and point and shoot type cameras. But more recently, a micro SD card has become available. Now, these are, as the word implies, micro. They are much smaller, and so what I would definitely recommend is that you just check up which type of material, recording material, you need for the camera that's coming out. Every camera practically will tell you that the cards are not included, so you will have to buy a memory card for the camera before it's going to be operational. So just make sure that you buy the right card, because these are by no means compatible one to the other. Just to come back to the matter of power, and in particular if you are exploring a camera that is battery operated. More recently there have been models of cameras that are smaller than the ones, now this is about, well, it's just smaller than my hand, but there are models that are much smaller than this that are coming out on the market. And it appears that manufacturers have taken the opportunity to start saying that their cameras are better because for some reason they are more environmentally friendly, in that they take 4 instead of 8 batteries. Now, I've never used a camera that has 4 batteries. I only have these cameras that take 8 at a time. I can tell you that these cameras are incredibly hungry in terms of power. So a camera that will only take 4, I would have thought needs changing far more readily, is likely to run through that battery power far quicker. And if you've got a terribly busy garden with 1 or 2 or 3 or more hedgehogs, you're going to find yourself accumulating a lot of recording a lot of the time. And therefore you may actually find that the batteries run out at 3 o'clock in the morning and you simply don't get any more recording. Another thing that manufacturers are terribly keen to shout from the rooftops, so to speak, is the capture range of their cameras. And so a capture range is the distance from the camera that it will be triggered when it sees movement. And many of them will tell you that they have a range of 20 meters or 22 meters. And this may seem that one is better than the other. Again, we're intending to use the camera to record hedgehogs, and I can tell you that at a range of 20 or 22 meters, no matter how good the camera, they will look like a speck on the horizon. I always find that the best footage I get is when the hedgehog is in the range of about 1 to 1.5, maybe 2 meters away from the camera. So for the purposes of what I want the camera to do, the capture range is completely irrelevant. I need the hedgehog close to the camera. I just need the camera to record it when it is in front of the camera. So again, think very carefully about the purpose for which you're using the camera. If you're going to double it and use it out in the countryside, recording badgers and deer, then by all means, then the capture range comes into play as a factor for consideration. But for capturing hedgehogs at 22 meters, you're just going to see a spot on the horizon. One last thing with regards what manufacturers will tell you. Very often they will tell you what's included in the box, and for most cameras that includes a strap and an attachment that allows you to put the camera on a gate post or a tree, and essentially you are tying it against that post or that tree to record the animals. Now, I find that I am placing my camera about 6 to 12 inches off the ground. I use an octopus tripod, which raises the camera literally a few inches off of the ground. The camera is at virtually eye level to the hedgehog. So I have no need, and you can see it's still in the packaging, I've got no need for any of the attachments or any of the kinds of marketing material that the camera manufacturers might tell me about how wonderful the strap or the attachment might be. So we've looked at all the features of the camera that the marketeers might try to woo you on. Just final thing to look at the functionality that I would absolutely want to make sure any camera that I purchased for recording hedgehogs absolutely had. And the first thing is the time switch or some kind of timer setting. Basically, that allows you to put the camera out and it will only be operational between particular hours. And of course, when you're recording hedgehogs, you want those hours to be during the nighttime rather than recording the cats and the birds of the neighborhood during the day and effectively wasting your battery. Another one that you may want is the time stamp. And what they mean by this is that on the actual recording, you get at the bottom of that recording the date and time that the recording was made. And then a further feature to look out for is the camera operating purely as a video camera, as a photo or stills camera, or can it take a combination of both? Now, the camera that I've got can take both photos and video, and in fact can do it at practically the same time, in that on a particular setting it can first take a photo or multiple photos. Again, it's got that functionality, and then it will trigger the video, so you get both a still and a video footage. If you are in the market for the camera, one thing I would warn, as I very often warn in the comments on different videos, it is terribly addictive. And once you get going, you will find yourself engrossed in that footage. It is so much fun, and it is great to be seeing the activity of these little creatures in your garden. So if you're looking for a camera, I would highly recommend getting one. If you're on the fence about getting a camera, I would highly recommend getting one. And by all means, look at the description of this video for loads of different links and different cameras. If you want to see the review that I did a few months ago on the camera that I do use, then by all means have a look at this video here. And if you want to see more specific uncut footage of what the camera produces, then I've got an entire playlist down here of all that types of footage. I do hope you to get a camera and you join the ranks of people recording hedgehogs in their garden. Until next time, take care. Bye bye.